Hey gang, welcome back to 31 Days of Halloween. We're almost there. It's day 29. And I thought, I can't let this month go by without 1968's Night of the Living Dead. Directed by George Romero, starring Dwayne Johnson and Dwayne Jones. Dwayne Johnson. No, The Rock was not in this thing. Dwayne Jones and the beautiful, so sweet and nice Judith O'Dea. I met her at Walker Stalker, uh, the first Walker Stalker in Atlanta, and she was top 10 list of favorite meet and greets. I absolutely loved and adored her. She was such a fun person to talk to, and just so humble and nice and very I don't know, grandma-esque, I guess. She was just that kind of spirit that came off of her to me. Anyway, um, this is one of the most successful independent films ever made. It's also one of the greatest horror films ever made, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinions. The movie itself, of course, this is the lead of the zombie revolution, where it all starts. Even though the word zombies never mentioned in this film one time, there's a lot of other things going on with this that a lot of people talk about in other reviews, and it's been reviewed so many times and so much better than I'm going to. So you can go there to find out about their social commentary and all of that stuff, because this is just a feelings of and my admiration for this film. The one thing that I think is um, very big in this film, as well as I would say every, I hate to say, every serious zombie film I've ever seen. I mean, every, um, let's just say, let's just generically say, any zombie film I've seen, is that the undead on the outside of the whatever you're at, in this case, farmhouse, are, let's say it this way, the people inside the farmhouse are just as bad, if not worse, than the things outside the farmhouse. And I think that's true with just about any zombie film. It, it's, yes, these creatures are trying to eat our brains and our bodies and whatever else, but at the same time, a group of people that aren't um, are thrown into a situation that aren't usually together, don't know each other, whatever, and then you throw panic and all this into it, become just as horrible, if not worse, than the zombies. That's what I'm trying to say, and none of that probably came out how I wanted it to in my head, but that's okay. Most things don't. The movie itself, when it starts out with Barbara and her brother, the iconic "I'm coming to get you, Barbara," is that whole scene, um, up until, you know, she goes towards the farmhouse, is shot so beautifully. It's probably, in any zombie film, it's literally my favorite part, um, of any zombie film filmed. I love that whole scene. It's just so pleasant and horrifying all of a sudden. And then when we see the zombie, hitting the car window with the rock, and it's just fear in its eye, in her eyes, just makes that whole scene everything. Then we get to the farmhouse, and of course we meet Dwayne Jones's character and the family that's already there, and of course the dad is a gigantic fucking asshole, and we just see a lot of horror inside that house and panic, and very few people have their heads on straight. And one of them happens to be a black man in the late 60s that, first off, he's one of the first leads, there is black leads, and it's absolutely amazing from what I've read and everything and interviews I've seen with Romero, that that part was completely rewritten for Mr. Jones, because the character was meant to be an angry, gruff type guy, and the way he came in and auditioned was enough to change the whole writing and thing of it. And you can get into the racial tension and all of that in other reviews. I do strongly think that the ending is up in the air for debate of why. And if you haven't seen it, you can go watch it, and then you'll know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to ruin it for you. But he has such a strong performance. It is... I can't imagine the film being the other way that it was intended to be, with the truck driver-esque, mean asshole type guy. I don't know how they would have got the straight head and been able to do what they do to get to last as long as they did before help came. I've also, the names totally went from my head right now, I also got to meet the sheriff from the film, and he was such a pleasant guy. We met him at Days of the Dead in Indianapolis, and he was just one of those guys that was so happy to see people remember who he was, or come talk to him about what he had done. And it's one of my biggest regrets in horror conventions is he was selling mock-ups or replicas of his hat. And I really wish I would have bought one. I really wish I would have. It was so cool. Just watching the movie and I see the hat and I'm like, man, why didn't I buy one of those? But you know what? He's passed on, just as Mr. Jones has. And that is what it is. But like I said, Judith O'Dea, literally one of my favorite meet and greets. George Romero, I've talked about this in other videos, slipped by me. I think 2 conventions that I went to that he had been sick and canceled, and I never got a chance to meet him. I did meet John Russo. I don't know. He was all right. You can tell that he's, I'm not going to talk bad about him anyway. But anyway, this film is literally one of my favorites. This was my pick of all-time films that I would love to see on Criterion 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. If you create a profile on the Criterion's website and you can put what you own and all that stuff. One of the questions is, what film would you like to see? And Night of the Living Dead was mine, like first day. I thought this has to be on Criterion. I don't understand why it wouldn't be. And it finally was. And when it came out, it was a day one buy for me. It was not a wait for the sale, but also that it came out on Amazon at like $17.99 for the Blu-ray. So that was another easy answer there. So yeah, Night of the Living Dead, 1968. My all-time favorite zombie movie. One of my all-time favorite horror movies. Would definitely be in the top 10. So there you go. Let me know what you think of Night of the Living Dead. Let me think of anything you have to say. Let me hear anything you have to say about this. So you guys keep it spooky, and we're down to the wire, guys.